And the Arab League has also accused the United States of taking what it terms as provocative steps targeting the history of relations between Palestinians, Arabs and Muslims. In a statement, the League has termed the opening of the American embassy in Jerusalem as a blatant violation of international law and a move that curtails efforts towards peace in the Middle East. The statement also calls on the international community to pressure Israel to adopt United Nations resolutions to end the occupation of Palestinian land. Well, let's get to more now on those global reactions. I'm joined live from Cairo by CGTN's Yasser Hakim, and also joining me from Johannesburg is CGTN's Angela Coppola. Yasser, first to you, an emergency session of the Arab League has been called. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, it has been called by the Palestinian state and supported by Kuwait, and obviously the Palestinians want to see what the Arab nations and the Arab League can do in order to stop the Israeli aggression on the Palestinians in Gaza and demonstrators in the Palestinian territories. There's been a request for a fact-finding mission at the UN, and that was turned down by the United States, who vetoed that decision. Also, the Palestinians want pressure from the Arab nations and from the European Union and other nations for Israel to adopt the UN resolutions and to stop the further occupation of Palestinian land. And obviously the Arab League, as you said, has rejected the U.S. move to announce Jerusalem the capital of an Israeli state and move the U.S. embassy there. What Egypt and Arab countries see is Jerusalem as the capital of a Palestinian state, and that the final decision should be done after peace talks between the Palestinians and Israelis, not through any unilateral decisions from one side.
Well, Angelo, the African Union has said it is in solidarity with the Palestinian people, and now a withdrawal of South Africa's ambassador to Israel. Why is this such an emotive issue for South Africa?
Well, the South African authorities are firm on their stance about Palestine and Israel. They see what's happening there as a form of apartheid, something that the majority of South Africans have suffered through for many decades under the National Party here. And in fact, the ANC felt so strongly about it that at their December elective conference, they actually agreed to downgrade the South African embassy in Israel to a liaison office. And as far as we can tell, that change in status hasn't happened yet, but it's more likely now following these latest rounds of killings. It's expected that the government will, in fact, fast-track that downgrade. And incidentally, there are two protest actions that are happening in South Africa today. There's a march on Parliament in Cape Town, which is endorsed and supported by the ruling African National Congress. So we expect to see lots of supporters on the streets there. Then there's a picket outside the US consulate in Johannesburg by a range of Palestinian organizations and the South African Communist Party. And that's about the move of that US embassy to Jerusalem. So it looks like it's going to be a day of protest action in South Africa, Beatrice.
Right. Yes, there's a lot of global reaction to what is going on the Gaza border there. And how is this violence, though, likely to affect Egypt's operations in the Sinai region and the Rafah border crossing into Gaza?
Well, first of all, Egypt yesterday opened the Rafah border crossing in order to receive the injured from the Palestinian demonstrators to be treated in Egyptian hospitals. Also, convoys have been deployed into Gaza from Egypt, carrying food, medicine, and clothes for the Gazans to help in this ordeal. So that is open and will continue for the next 48 hours or more if needed. At the same time, obviously, the whole area around the borders in northern Sinai has been on high alert, security-wise as well, because obviously there has been a crackdown on militants and terrorism in that part of the area, and that coincides with with the events now. So security is at its best at the moment, being deployed around the Rafah area, the Sheikh Zuwayed, to ensure that there's no infiltration through the borders during these desperate times, and to ensure also that the Gazans are moved, the Palestinians are also moved in and outside Egypt safely and can return to Palestine after being treated, but at the same time to ensure that the Egyptians living on the borders are also safe from any militant infiltration on this side of the country.
Angelo, you did mention that South Africa feels very strongly about the Palestinian people and the Palestinian territory. So what's the next step for South Africa when it comes to supporting the Palestinian people?
Well, a bit of context here, Beatrice, because South Africa and Palestine have a really long history and relationship. Nelson Mandela and Yasser Arafat were very close. The ANC had a strong relationship with the PLO. South Africa has always been vocal about defending Palestine and calling for peace between the two nations. So diplomatically speaking, they've taken the most bold, or the boldest step they could take, and that's in recalling the ambassador. But the government also called for the Israeli Defense Force to be withdrawn from the Gaza Strip and to actually stop the violent and destructive incursions into the Palestinian territories. We now wait for the International Relations and Cooperation Minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, to issue a statement on the way forward. It's likely that Minister Sisulu will order the Israeli ambassador to her office, if she hasn't done so already, for an explanation about the killings. The minister will be in Parliament later today for a debate on her ministry's budget speech, so we're likely to see more definitive action and responses from her then. But in the last half an hour, the ANC has called for a cessation of hostilities and wants to work with other countries to isolate Israel and to liberate Palestine. So those are fighting words from the ANC in South Africa. Beatrice? All
right, Angelo Coppola for us there in Johannesburg, and Yasser Hakim joining us from Cairo.